Another day, another rejection letter from work for our dear Maine. Maika Sakuranomiya, who is searching for a job so she can study abroad and outside of Japan. However, because of her natural expression, she can't find one, but her sister tries to cheer her up and even suggests to ask her dad for help, but she refuses the idea since she wants this to be her effort. The next day, she has another job interview. This time, she has the idea to use some glasses to dissimulate her facial expressions, but has the luck of having her train retraced. Hence, she has to rush to the place, and on the way, she finds a handsome blonde guy. Surprisingly, both consider that they're going to have a very nice day after seeing one another. Later, she is sad as she thinks she is rejected, but then she starts to make facial expressions outside the windows, which attracts the manager, who rushes outside telling his co-workers that he found the girl of his dreams, and his first impression of Maika was a guy yelling that he loved her while out his nose. After that incident, he apologizes and then hires her as something to progress their relationship. Maika accepts, and after dressing in her uniform, she is introduced to all the staff, Kavo Venata, the Sumdir service, Koyo Akizuki, and lastly, Dino Roma, kitchen staff and manager of the shop. Then Dino tells her that she is hired due to her facial expressions as the service staff, and then she is put to the test when two clients arrive. Maika unintentionally succeeds in the test with her facial expressions and accidents, so now she is officially hired after almost the manager with that showcase of skill, and she is grateful for the job. The following day, Maika arrives optimistic, and when she opens the door, she finds that a child is beating the manager. But it's not a child, she's a college student, so don't be fooled. She introduces herself as Mafu Hashikawa, and she works in the coffee shop occasionally, and Mafu declares she does that since the manager is a little and don't stop hitting him even when the man asks for help. In the dressing room, Mafu declares she always wanted a sister and Kaho doesn't classify as one, so the work shift begins. Mafu goes into character as the little sister service, and she tries to do so, and all of them try their best. Later, Maika thinks about how she could be more like Mafu, and she tries to call Dino her Oni-chan, but instead calls him Oni, which makes him sad, and since he is sad, he is slow, and he ends up being scolded by Akizuki. So the shift continues, and Kavo ends up almost losing her job due to her obsession with video games, and Dino being kicked by both Akizuki and Mafudo as he tries to rizz up Maika, and the day goes on until all the three maids go to an arcade since Kahu wanted to pass her time there grabbing attention, winning a prize for Mafudo and having Maika have her first experience with an autophoto studio, which she treasures the most. Maika does a little rewind of the roles and how she is stuck with roles, so she thinks she has to practice to achieve a better service. And while she was at it, her co-workers thought it was in spell until they went inside and tell her that she, without knowing, was sitting on the manager, who was rather enjoying this, so Mafuyu starts scolding him as he was once again staying up late watching a nine. But then Meiku tells him with her nasty facial expression that she didn't want him to wake up, and then acts ultra sweet, telling him that she will do her best at work. Confusing but also make him happier, so seeing Mafuyu, Maika thinks that she should use her smile more, and that works without her knowing that her nasty expression is still on, and going happy to her rest. She finds everyone seeing the manager, who is talking to a foreign, and Maika tries to learn something but is discovered by the guy, and he tries to talk to her, and then, using her only neuron, instead of telling him something in proper English, she uses her nasty expression to just agree, which confuses the guy but also makes him happy as the weirdo he is. The next day, there is a little reunion at the cafe, and Akizuki expresses his frustration of not having any women in the coffee shop as a customer, as he is surrounded by weirdos, but then he reveals he is also a weirdo as he wants women customers only to see Yuri in action, and Dino proposes to bring his girlfriend, but he has none, and then tries to ask Kaho to bring her friends, but she is an otaku gamer who only has online friends, and then Maika proposes to both Kaho and her behave like customers, and everything went normal, until she made a drop of ice cream fell on Kaho's sweater, and the chaos ensued, but Akizuki was enjoying it while shipping Maika's Kaho, but Dino tells him he is more into Denox Maika, and everything went nuts even after Mafu arrived, who fled the weird scene. The days passed, and Kaho wasted all her money in the arcade winning prizes, and because of one of those, the manager and Mafu fought, signifying Mafu's victory. Upon the week later, Dino calls everyone as now there must be a limited edition menu, and they must divide into two teams, which will make two separate dishes, and the one who has ordered the most will receive a bonus. Casually, Mafu ends up in the team with Maika, and at first is a problem until Mafu clarifies that they must work together, and Maika has to have an opinion of hers or anything will progress, so they end up doing a parfait, but in the day, it was so nasty that every customer thought it was the special parfait for Maika-san. In brief, they won, but the parfait was so nasty that it erased Dino from existence with a Thanos snap. Then Kavo asks them at the exit what there will be prizes, but Maika, being pure, says that it was the experience, and Mafu answers that with that mentality, she will have a rough time in real life. The next day, Mafio reveals her prize, and it was forcing Maika into a cosplay and take photos of her. It's another Labor Day, and Maika arrives, surprised that nobody is there, but when she goes to the resting room, she stomps on the manager who compliments her sadism. Then Maika questions why he was on the floor, and the manager explains that he's an otaku, so he was simply napping. Maika tells him that she doesn't watch Anon. However, she loves to watch cartoons from other countries, and Dino asks her why she is so interested in other countries, and that's when Maika starts narrating how she fell in love with other countries, and it was since the visit of a foreign in her house, as her house is pretty traditional itself. Moreover, after that visit, she decided she had enough of her country at the age of 5. Later, she fell in love with the KFC old man, but because of her nasty look, she couldn't see the statue anymore, and the people started to report a 7-year-old looking with despise at the statue, and so went on until she decided to catch Santa. Then Maika realized that Dino maybe didn't rest that well because of her, so she offered her as a cushion for him to rest, and her manager didn't hesitate to eat himself over there. And after seeing blonde hair in her, Maika couldn't resist caressing his hair with, and everything went fine until everybody arrived and Mafiu and Akazuki were about to report him to the police, even if he was telling everyone that she has consented. Later, the finish of the shift, Maika finds something terrible for her, but for the rest of their adult coworkers except Kaho, it was just a manga. And now they have to figure out who left such a thing, and Maika starts by asking indirect questions to the customers who are confused, but also frizzled by her smile. Days pass, and nobody reclaimed the manga. Akizuki and Kaho tried to take a little look at it, but without effort, so that's when the manager decided to put a sign of a lost book, but Mafuyu made a move of 500 IQ and specified what type of book without telling directly it is a. And at that night, Maika is left perplexed, as it is a woman who retires the manga. This day starts as usual as Maika arrives at the job, but this time she sees the same woman in the magazine with the uniform. Then she presents herself as their new co-worker, Yuamano, and everybody is happy. Even the manager, until she asks him for lots of vacation as she is a self-publisher and reveals herself to be author of such scandalous manga. So Akizuki asks for a brief timeout, and Miyu thinks that she may have asked too much until Akizuki asked for her autograph, and she just started to work there officially as a way to recollect material for her work. So when the shift starts, Maika wonders what kind of role Miyu is playing, and it results to be the big sister role. She is ultra kind with the customers, and she tries to do the same, but she is as ever, and every effort goes ultra wrong. Maika feels defeated, so the manager cheers her up, and the situation turns dynamic, but it's broken by a comment of Maika pointing out his eye bags, and with that comment, Miyu gains inspiration for her next manga. The next day, Miyu showcases her work to everyone, including Maika. They continue talking about how Miyu's work is and how she didn't continue to publish the manga she was showing to Kaho as she had a problem with her work partner. But she doesn't care, as when she started working at the cafe, she's having more material than ever, thinking that Maika is the girlfriend of Dino, which Dino overheard it and almost until Maika clarifies the incident. Then Miyu asks the crew to remain silent about the manager's feelings, and they start suggesting ideas for the cafe, even dressing Dino as a buttle, which makes Maika thrilled. And then Miyu has her material for her new manga. Furthermore, she now knows Maika is an otaku of foreign things. Later, Dino called the crew for a meeting to know the customers' opinions about them. They loved Mafiu and Kaho. They needed Miyu to improve something, but they didn't know what. And lastly, they wanted Maika to be more. So the crew, except Mafiu, forced Maika into training, which resulted in very good results, but too good. So good they couldn't release the monster they created. Thanks to the inspiration, now Miyu has a successful manga about May, who pretends to be friendly with a butler with the facade of a strong man who in reality is shy and innocent. At the cafe, Miyu doesn't go to work, and Maika, as usual, goes and finds that today is the ponytail day. Kava releases her hair without knowing that Maika always has her hair tied since she has several frizz, and then they tie her hair, and Dino tells her he will give her a hair treatment so she can lower the frizz, and later he does, making Maika ultra happy. At that same noon, it starts to rain too much, and for script reasons, Maiko and Akizuki start playing video games in the restroom because it is raining a lot. Diamond decides to escort Maika to the train station, locking Akizuki and Kawo together, who were ready to burn the witch as they remember they had to do otaku stuff, and when Dino came back, he was by both of them. The next day, Maika didn't go to work as she was sick, so Mafiu, Kaho, and Dino decided to visit her. Dino felt guilty since he didn't escort her to her house and just to the station. So at the end of the shift, they went and were surprised at how traditional the house was, and since it didn't have a doorbell, Daima tried to search for it, almost being away by the police. Hearing the scandal, her sisters come out, and after being told they were her friends, she lets them come in, presenting both her and her brother, Aika and Koichi, who then guide them to the room of the ill Maika. Soon after, Dino apologies to Maika, and believing he is Maika's boyfriend, both her sister and brother start bringing stuff, First tons of matcha, then hard rice cookies, and later they interrogate him, making Maika angry and scolding them for being an annoyance to her friends. It's another day in the life of our crew, and now they decided to go to the river to do some BBQ grilling. While Mafu, Maika, and Dino were happy, the rest of them were suffering as they were more indoor persons, but Mew brought the emergency kit for them and they just sit down to play, read, and write, which made Maika sad as she expected everyone to enjoy the day at the river. So, ignoring this, everyone brings what they brought for the meal, and everyone brings something normal except Maika, who brought a whole giant tuna which Dino had to deal with. So they enjoy their day at the river, even Mew, who was due to her deadline, so after it in the car, Dino talked with Maika, and because nobody went into the river, he decided it would be a good idea to go to the beach, and then Maika invites him to choose her, almost making them crash due to Dino's behavior. The next day, both go to the store to buy a for Maika, and they are attended by a pro seller. Maika tries to be friendly with her by telling them that she doesn't need her, but due to her nasty look, it means something else. Time goes by, and after choosing, they finally choose a nice at first. Maika doesn't know how to put it, but then she knows, and after explaining she might get a sunburn to Dino, he covers her, as if she's going to catch. Fortunately for Dino, Maika finally chose a good option, which almost him. The beach day arrived and everybody was ready. Dino brought beach inflatables and after consuming his. So everybody enjoyed it, even Akizuki, who was ready to just read instead of going to the beach. So Dino and Maika went to the sea to swim a little, and Maika almost, but she grabbed Dino's arm, making him feel lucky guy until he saw Maika's face and immediately went to the shore. In the meantime, Akizuki was being buried in sand by Kaho and Mew, and after Mew's comment, he immediately stood up and called her out for her mind. The day continued until Dino and Maika went to buy some shaved ice for the crew, but Maika cut her leg and Dino had to carry her to safety, which made Maika's heart beat hard remembering it. So Dino came back to treat her injury, and after an emotional conversation about how Dino resembled a knight, he wrapped her whole leg in the bandages. The next day, Kaho arrived with a tan which made Mafuyu scold her, but also gave Dino an idea even after seeing the tiny tan of Maika, and it was making a jungle day which made Akizuki have problems with it. But not only Akizuki, as Maika was having problems searching the tables, everyone had their character, especially Mafuyu, who was a monkey delivering bananas, and Mew, that copied the idea for her deeds. The day goes by and Maika almost fell but saved her dish and scared the customer by thinking she freshly cooked a chicken for him due her character. And not only her had problems, as Akizuki had a misunderstanding with Kaho, and then he was all gloom and even did something wrong to the manager, who was scared by his attitude. Another day at the coffee shop and everything went normal until a scream from Dino was overheard. Akizuki, thinking that Dino was injured, rushed to the area only to find out that it was since they were out of strawberries and Dino didn't order any. So Dino rushed to buy strawberries, and for mere coincidence, Maika was arriving at the job, so Mafuyu asked her to go with him as he forgot his cell phone and everything, but also thought that out of all the persons, Maika should be the ideal one to go with him. So they go to the search for strawberries in the markets, but every single market they went, it didn't have strawberries, and being near the hour of opening, the guys decided to ask him, but Dino informed them that they couldn't find any strawberries, so they will go to a very far distance market, but he is happy as he was in a date with Maika. Seeing this, the crew decided to open anyways and use their skills and performance to persuade customers into buying anything that didn't have strawberries, and Akizuki even let pass the mind of Mew. Meanwhile, Maika and Dino finally found strawberries, but a little kid wanted them. However, Maika's face didn't let it pass this time, and the kid got scared and fearing a problem. Dino intervened, which made the mother gives them the strawberries without a problem. Walking to the store, Maika says that they were charmed by the foreign beauty of Dino, and that she wouldn't have the looks to do so, but Dino, as the good man he is, dismisses it as the cafe customers love her eyes and her beautiful black hair. But then he goes all happy about her looks, even saying that it enthralls him, making him go by the police because of the fuzz he made in public. The next day, now they have tons of customers, which makes all the crew tired, and even they slipped in their performances, so Mafuyu and Kaho ask Dino to hire a new member, and Akizuki asks that the new member should be a man. So the following day, Dino is interviewing a new girl, and Maika arrives early as usual and sees the new cute girl. Maika falls for the new girls as she is cute as a doll and even tells Dino to hire her, but Dino doesn't have the mind yet, making the girl cry a little bit because of that, so Dino gave her a trial to see her performance in the cafe. So she's presented to everyone at the cafe, and Kaho suggests they should hire her in the spot, but Dino doesn't want to as he is a male, which impacts everyone, but neither care later as they really need that other hand. So Dino asks in his size, meanwhile, to order the uniform, and Maika lend her spare as he could use it. In his performance in the cafe, it's exceptional as he immediately grabs the idol character. Moreover, invites Maika to his performance as they have the same uniform. After the shift, Hidari Kanzaki, our trap, is officially hired and also a cockroach for the team which made Mew incinerate the gloves of the spare uniform. As he is hired, he talks about his past and how he just liked to and wants to be an idol, so otherwise he doesn't have to inherit his family farm, letting his male voice out with a negative feeling. The following day, Dino is a gentleman towards other women, so Akizuki and Hidari tells him that he needs to be like that with Maika as he is not making any progress on her, so Hidari suggests he should compliment her and Dino goes, but he goes in the wrong time while she is working and calls her kind, which makes her think she is doing her job very poorly. The next trial is to help her, and Hidari shows how by tripping Akizuki, who then wants to kill our boy. So Dino goes, and once again at the wrong time since Maika is working, so she gets angry with him for interfering in her work, and Akizuki and Hidari scolds him. Then Hidari suggests to showcase his love to her, and what can be better for a cook, a whole meal for his precious one, but Maika thinks it's like a discharge meal as the parents do that when they abandon their child, and Dino has to clarify the problem and he has the opportunity to confess his love in silver plate, but he wasted it by saying in a former way that he liked working with her instead of her. Now we jump with Miu, who was buying paper and she saw Hidari and tried to say hi to him, but he ignored her, which made her angry until he noticed her by her terrorific face, and they talk about what they were doing, and Hidari reveals he was searching for a new cute affordable outfit, so they go to store, and that's when Hidari showcases kawaii power. However, he is so broke he can't afford the custom. Later, he needs to go to pick flowers, which means he needs to go to the bathroom, and he at first was headed to the women's bathroom, but Miu catched him and told him that he needed to go to the males as he could make a fuzz, but he did otherwise as he really looks as a female. Going for drinks after they spent the day together, Miu suggests he should ask Mifuyu to lend him her clothes, but Hidari thinks that this may be some deed against him. However, he accepts, and bad for him. He was right, as the next day Mifuyu and Miu makes him cosplay against his will. Maika shows her friend how much fun she had at the beach and even told her about how Dino went with her to buy this, and her friend, with all her honesty, told her that only a guy would do that if he was either his boyfriend or really interested in her. After school, she goes at work, but she finds a sad scene, an abandoned dog, so she brings it to the Stillo Cafe and tries to convince someone to take care of the dog. However, none could, and that's when Akizuki suggests Roma should take the dog as he lives alone at the cafe, and that makes Maika interested in her house as it could be a foreign-style home, and she wants to go up there, but first Dino goes and everyone except Maika assumes it was to clean up the mess. So Akizuki, Maika, and the dog go to Dino's apartment with him, and the first thing Maika noticed is how Dino put his shoes in the entrance, which disappointed her, but Dino has to remind her that they are in Japan, not in a foreign country, and the apartment was tidy and clean, but even the dog and Akizuki could notice the wardrobe about to explode except Maika. So Maika, assuming the dog is going to live with the manager, suggests he should stay there, but Dino says that he hasn't made his mind clear yet. However, Maika's eyes were the same as the dog's, so at the end, Dino accepts having the dog, and Maika baptizes him with the name of Owner. And so Dino puts a sign for a proper home. However, Owner is happy with him and even reveals his to Dino, who now knows he is a male. Because of this, Dino can't watch anime and vents to his friends since he needs to get up early to walk Owner, and now he can't watch directly stream anime. Moreover, he is gloom and depressed, so Mifuyu tries to cheer him up by saying that the early fish gets the worm, and that was true as Maika gives him cookie as a thanks for taking care of the dog, and initially Dino feared for his life, remembering how the parfait erased him from existence, but after being brave and tasting them, he felt rewarded and happy and incitated Maika to cook him more. So Maika goes and buys tons of ingredients, which makes Aika curious, and when she explains what are they for, she wants to visit her work. And she does the next day, making a fuzz, thinking Maika and Dino are a couple, and even talks with Dino about how Maika is a delicate flower. Later at the kitchen, the crew points the differences of Maika and Aika, which are that Aika has droppy eyes and Maika has fierce eyes, and Hidari even insinuates that they even are related, so Maika starts crying and Dino comforts her. However, Aika him with a spear, thinking he hurt Maika's feelings. The day finishes with Aika going to her home, Maika happy, but Kodiki is sad as he wasn't invited. This new day starts with Mifuyu having a confession, but she rejects the guy harshly, even throwing the paper with his contact info with a paper plane. The crew tell her, but Mifuyu clarifies if they're seriously declaring their love for someone, they shouldn't just give them their app info, but also know the person better than in a performance coffee shop, and also states that the guy maybe was a... So the crew starts talking about the height inconvenience by first holding hand, and after that, Akizuki insinuates something and has to cover Miu's mouth and tackles Hidari, who also understood the other inconvenience. So that's when Koval proposes to practice with the manager, as he is the tallest member of the crew, and suggests for him to get her between his body and the wall, and Dino tries to, but Mifuyu makes him mean, and when he finally puts her into the wall, Mafuyu is too small, so it looks comical rather than romantic. So Mafuyu remembers how at home her brother told her if she didn't want to have a boyfriend and she just works, studies and goes straight home, and the next day going to the work she finds a fuzz in the arcade being Kaho, and after a little talk Kaho tells her that she has to do a makeup exam as she failed one and her mother forbid her to have any video games until she approves, so Mafuyu first chops her for losing her time playing video games but also offers to be her tutor. So they go into a cafe, pretty different from the Stillo cafe, so Mafuyu starts the lesson and asks her about the materials she brought, and Kaho mentions a tablet, and when Mafuyu checks it, finds out lots of games and scolds Kaho as she is still losing her time and now requires a more strict education, but also mentions that she has to put in effort as she is the one interest in approved math, and after that she reveals she wants to be a kindergarten teacher, which Kaho of cuteness. So the days pass by, and now Kaho has two big eye bags due to her studying every day, and Mafuyu tells it's admirable, but she can't attend the customers like that. So she makes up her and then Maika who wanted to. Akazuki arrives and sees how Hidari was on the door, but he informs him that if he goes inside, he would be a victim of the crime, but Akazuki doesn't believe it, and now he has fallen for the trap and ended up with a total makeover that made him look as a woman, but his body didn't cooperate with the look. And when Dino arrived, he took several photos of him. Moreover, now was his chance to compliment Maika, and he did so, comparing her to a camel with Maika instead of getting angry. She was happy that she was compared to such a beautiful animal. Then it's the turn for Akazuki to Kaho, and he tells her that without the makeup she was still beautiful. The next day, Kaho shows Mafuyu her approved test, and Mafuyu is happy for her. However, this could mean the end of the tutoring, but Kaho really liked her time with Mafuyu, so she invites her to another time at the cafe. Good news for Owner and Dino, they have a date at the park with Maika, which thrills Dino. So the next morning at the park, Dino, Owner, and Maika go there and see how many families were there. However, because Owner wasn't a kid, Maika compares Dino with her with a married couple, which almost Dino of love, and then they find a good spot, so Maika starts playing with Owner. However, her reveals a little too much, and Dino tells that to her in a very shy way, but Maika isn't worried as it's a short and shows it to Dino, who because of it. The Dino throws the frisbee far away and other dogs grabs it, but when Owner was ready to throw hands, he realizes it was a girl, so Owner decides to let the girl has his frisbee. And initially he was sad, and he even ended up biting Dino as he got a meal made for him, and he didn't have nothing. Later the owner arrived with the frisbee, and Maiko tried with Owner to make a good impression on the female doggo, but they couldn't because of their nasty face, and instead ended up making her run away from them. The next day, the manager is all happy, but Akazuki isn't, as he had a discussion early with Kaho, who lost all of her progress in a game. Moreover, there was a limited edition character called Vanilla, and she couldn't have it because of that, and Akazuki just told her that it wasn't a big deal, but for Kaho, it was, and now she was gloomier than usual, even affecting her job, so Dino suggests Akazuki to cook something for her to apologize for the rude behavior, as she just needed to be listened. So Akazuki does so, but a client notices how Kaho was bummed out, so he gifted her a Vanilla's keychain, and Akazuki, in fear, decides to give the parfait forcefully to Hidari, but the manager snitch him out with Kaho, who then tells him she will eat the parfait someday and thanks him for considering it. And the following day, we jump now with Hidari, who is showing to Maika his change in the uniform to make him look more adorable and highlight him. And then they had the typical fallen anime where it could be misinterpreted, and Dino did, but Maika doesn't understand what is wrong, so Dino tries to do so, but he can't, but he ends up being pushed by Hidari, and then Dino wastes his only opportunity by just playing a high-five game with Maika, which upsets Hidari and Akazaki, who tells him he wasted a golden plate opportunity, but now they proposes Dino to do so with Maika, and he does, but once again in the wrong moment as he interrupts Maika's work, and she gets angry because of it, but this time, Maika sees what she did to the manager and feels regret. It started to snow and everybody is happy. However, the snow didn't last, and Mafuyu was sad as she wanted to play with the snow, so Dino proposes to go to a winter wonderland, and they go, enjoying a day of snow. And the first thing Kaho did was doing snowmen with her hands, almost cercenating her fingers. Then Maika spotted a great snowboarder who, surprisingly only for her, was Dino, so Maika asks him to teach her. Meanwhile, Miu decided to stay inside as she loves to watch people as it can provide information for her novels, so Mafuyu tells her that the people wouldn't want to know what kind of situations are Tae really into it. Elsewhere, Dano teaches Maika, and at first she's having trouble with it, as she is going with speed towards the nowhere, and while Dino was having problems at it, Hidari tried to gain male attention by pretending to fall while skying even when he is awesome at it, but Dino covers him with snow to prevent Maika to kill herself unintentionally. And the day goes by, Maika, Kaho, and Akazuki learn, Hidari enjoying the view and pretends to be in defense, and finally, Mu watches everyone's inconveniences from afar as the creep she is. Later, at the sauna baths, the girls comment on how they enjoyed their day, especially Maika, who after talking about it with Kaho, decides to buy something for the manager, while Dino tells Ikazuki that he is going to declare his love to Maika, and he is mocked by Hidori, who doesn't think he has the will to do so. So after the bath, Dino meets Maika at the entrance, and Maika asks him for a few minutes with her, and initially Dino thinks that Maika is doing her move, but she isn't. She just bought him coffee as a thanks for the inconvenience of training her. Moreover, everybody was eavesdropping the conversation, waiting for Dino to confess his love, but when Dino finally confessed, Maika just dozed off and even fell into his lap, so Dino had to carry her to her room, which made everyone run for their lives to not be discovered. The next day, Dino was angry with Ikazuki for eavesdropping, while Maika thought it was a dream to just tell everyone of the crew that she loved them. So Maika went with the manager again for the snowboarding session, but because of the dream, she was in a bad mood and Dino thought he did something wrong, but in reality, he did not, and Maika tried to amend the problem, but made it worse because of her face. The days go by and now it's the new year. After attending to their last customers, Maika said her usual goodbye, asking them to not come back ever again. Then Dino invites the crew to eat leftover cake, when in reality it was a whole cake as a gratitude for everyone being here, remembering how at first it was only Kaho and Ikazuki and both of them were really shy towards each other, and later it was Mafu who thought at first that Dino was a and turned on the creep alarm, but Dino didn't care and dragged her to Stillo's cafe as she was the ideal little sister. Moreover, he needed another hand. And that's when Maiko-chan thanked him for hiring her, as she wouldn't be with such a lovely made-up family, telling everyone that she loves them.